I am standing at the end of Mulvaney Street in downtown Knoxville. Today it is not called Mulvaney Street, but rather Hall of Fame Drive. There you see probably its namesake, the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. It is opposite the James White Fort over yonder. James White being the first settler of Knoxville, and whose land many of the pioneers of Knoxville settled on and purchased from Mr. White. Hall of Fame Drive is kind of the centerpiece of downtown as far as, well, it's one of the tourist attractions, but it has many of the tourist sites. Aside from the Hall of Fame and the fort, it also has the Coliseum. You'll see off in the distance down yonder. It is the Civic Coliseum in downtown Knoxville. Knoxville's major venue downtown for concerts. And also, it is a major tourist street because Hall of Fame Drive connects to the 40 interstate here in downtown Knoxville. Now, anybody who has driven to Knoxville, and I'm sure there are a few campers and mobile home people, aside from the usual pickup trucks or station wagons you may see, the 40 runs through most of the major cities in Tennessee. It runs through Memphis, Nashville, and then from Knoxville it goes south. I believe it's been a while since I've been dogging it on the Greyhound, but I believe it goes south here to Chattanooga. And Rock City. Now, Mulvaney Street of Nikki Giovanni's youth is not up here off of Hill Avenue, but rather on the other side of where the Civic Auditorium is, down the hill here. So let us go here, from here at the end of what was once Mulvaney Street and is now a well, it's another tourist attraction with the volunteer landing here of the Tennessee campus. And a lot of apartments and or housings and or condos that overlook the Tennessee River. So let us see the other side of the former Mulvaney Street, closer to 400, where Nikki Giovanni and most of her essay was inspired by. All right, now on the other side of what used to be Mulvaney Street in downtown Knoxville and is today Hall of Fame Drive. There is a marked difference right at the Coliseum there on your left, at the corner of Howard Baker Jr. Drive and Hall of Fame, in the landscape on the other side of Hall of Fame Drive. Here there is less tourist attraction and more of an emphasis on housing. Much of it affordable housing here in downtown Knoxville. This is where Nikki Giovanni would spend her summers when she would come to Tennessee and live with her grandparents. It is marked with a plaque here to distinguish both the place and the writer who made this a famous address in downtown Knoxville. It stands in front of a recreation center that was renovated, rebuilt, remodeled at the beginning of 2000s, I believe. Seemingly much of Knoxville itself was kind of rehabilitated and updated. Those of the Nikki Giovanni fans recognize that name, Cal Johnson. The recreation center is named after Cal Johnson, a former slave of Knoxville who became one of the richest men in all of Tennessee with the businesses he created in Knoxville. A self-made, very successful businessman, black businessman. He, of course, wanted to give back to the community that supported him and made him who he was This is the Cal Johnson Park that Nikki Giovanni writes about in the Mulvaney essay. And it is right next to the updated Cal Johnson Recreation Center. Unfortunately, times change, and the Cal Johnson Park of Nikki Giovanni's youth is as gone as her grandparents' home she stayed in here. The fountain that was a famous part of the Cal Johnson Park is gone. Some of the hillsides and the trees Nikki would play on do survive today. But much of that area where she found community, and that was such a main inspiration for 400 Mulvaney Street, as well as many, of course, her works. The bottom is gone. The bottom was a black community in downtown Knoxville that was fully self-sustained. The bottom had their own banks, their own grocery stores, their own theaters, their own libraries, all apart from white Knoxville. Today, the bottom is gone, due in part to the changing times and a First Creek kind of hastened it. First Creek was a creek that ran along next to the bottom and would often flood during winter and summer months, that would literally flood businesses and homes. And all the urban renewal that has gone on here in downtown Knoxville, the creek was contained and diverted and rechanneled and repurposed. The Interstate 40 was put in so people can go from Memphis to Nashville to Knoxville to Chattanooga, I believe. And Rock City. And during those times of urban renewal and renovation, Mulvaney Street became Hall of Fame Drive. And it is a popular site today for travelers from all over Tennessee, the country, if not the world.